We are living in a rapidly transforming world. The change is happening right in front of our eyes. We are birthing new ways of being. And this kind of change, this kind of shift can be overwhelming. So, the question I asked at the beginning of this year was, what is it that I need to deal with and thrive in this kind of rapidly transforming world that we are living in the year 2025? So that's the channeling I want to share with you, because what came out of it seems like it's relevant to everybody. There are some aspects of this channeling that are very specific to me, but I'm going to translate some of those uh, in ways that will help you so that you can also benefit from what came for me. So this is the channeling from my oversoul. What I mean by that, our Sahasrara chakra, it's our thousand petal nest. There are different aspects of us, thousands of aspects of us. Those aspects are reflected in other humans, animals, plants, mountains and rivers and God and spirit guides and angels. Whatever we label different entities in the world, it's all connected, and those are all part of our oversoul. So when I channel, I basically clarify my mind in order to receive the information from all those aspects of me. And I use channeling as a very practical tool to help me get clearer on some of the concepts that I may be struggling with. And that's why I started sharing this here on Patreon, because I thought that sometimes, most of the times, when channeling that comes through, it feels very specific to me. But when I started sharing that with friends, they realized, or I realized, that it is relevant to them too. They find something out of it, right? So this is particularly how do we thrive in this rapidly transforming world. So here we go. Let's go back to the basics. We have 4 bodies. So each person has 4 bodies. What that means is you have your physical body, emotional, mental, and energetic body. So we have our physical body, emotional, mental, and energetic body. All of these layers of our being make us who we are. You need balance in all 4 of these in order to reflect balance outside. So our world that is showing what it is showing right now, because it's out of balance. So if we are to bring balance on the outside, we each have to feel balanced within who we are, the 4 layers of our being, our 4 bodies. In order to survive fast change, you need flexibility to pivot your responses according to that external change. Right? Just like in the physical body, flexibility requires certain amount of balance and strength. Each of our 4 bodies requires certain amount of balance and strength in order to be flexible, right? When you know your center point in each body and you can stay there longer at stretch, you can then stretch away from that position as needed in response to an external shift or external demand. So let's pause here a minute. I want to explain this. First of all, we need to know what balance looks like in all of our 4 bodies. For example, for me, overthinking looks like imbalance. Confusion looks like imbalance in maybe mental state and sometimes energetic body, right? Emotionally, if I stay in any one particular emotion for too long, whether that emotion is desirable or undesirable, I get stuck there. That is an imbalance. And this is true for most people, right? But you have to know what does your point of balance looks like. For everybody, that point of balance is going to be different. Meaning, for somebody, maybe the hope comes easily to them, so they can remain hopeful and remain envisioning better future for a longer time than you. And maybe for you, the alchemy of melancholy comes very easily, so you can stay in melancholy without it bringing you down, and instead you actually create some maybe music or art or maybe a channeling from that melancholy, right? So everybody has different points of balance. You first have to know what is your point of balance in all of these four bodies. Once you know what that looks like, when you go away from it, that awareness helps you realize, something just shifted, something went out of alignment, and now I need to act in order to bring that in balance, right? When we don't know the point of balance, we cannot stay there intentionally for longer times and at a stretch, longer at a stretch. We cannot stay there like that because sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. It's all based on accident. So first, strive for knowing what are your points of balance. So then second, when we know our points of balance and then we have developed that discipline to stay there for a longer time, when we actually get knocked off from it, right? Instead of just being thrown away from that balance, we can actually stretch ourselves. We can stretch to another position in response to that external shift, in response to an external demand. So it's more like a blade of a grass moving and stretching with wind rather than a tree just crumbling down, right? We don't want to be that tree crumbling down. We want a blade of grass that just keeps moving, right? When you do know your balance, when you can stay there, you have developed that kind of hygiene. What happens is you also can return to that point of balance even when you are knocked off, right? When you're knocked off balance without much damage and without much impact, you can return to that point of balance quickly. So speed here, how quickly can we return to the point of balance? And number two, how much damage has happened in the time that we were knocked off balance, right? So that kind of flexibility is important in thriving when the world around us is shifting so rapidly. We got to develop that kind of flexibility, internal flexibility, mental, emotional, physical, and energetic flexibility to be able to stretch more and be able to return to the position of balance quickly and without much damage, right? So how do you develop this strength and balance in each of your four bodies? This is where the channeling was like seven chakra, you know the drill, right? Anything I teach about seven chakra is about building this strength. It's about building your point of balance, your understanding the point of balance, and then recognizing when you're thrown away from it, how to come back to it, right? But every person needs different tools, different ways of working with their energy in order to develop this kind of spiritual discipline. If you want any of this information, there is a ton of free information that I have already created, which is on TikTok, that's on Bridgewalker's Tea podcast. It will be on Patreon as well. But get in touch with me if you want to work with me one-on-one or group settings, stuff like that, right? But that's what I teach. So then it moves forward to say, for you specifically, you have to ask. So for me specifically, obviously, like seven chakra knowledge, yes, that's the body of wisdom that we all look at. But each one of us, we specifically have to ask, which body is out of balance the most? And then which body is the root of that imbalance, right? So in my case, what is out of balance right now the most is physical body. I have cortisol dysfunction, and that is an impact of my emotional body. So due to the genocide happening in Palestine, I was so shocked, as in not with what is happening, but so distraught with what is happening to children. That's my weak point. So distraught with that my emotional body went completely out of balance. There was no flexibility there. I was stuck in sadness, anger, and just helplessness for a long time. But that impacted my physical body and its cortisol dysfunction. So I ended up, now my physical body is out of balance, right? So this is what you need to ask yourself: which of your bodies is most out of balance, and which of those is the root of it. And root and the most out of balance may not be the same. Ask that and start there. Now I'm going to move on to some specific tips that I received in this, just for me, but they may be useful to you too, right? So for my physical body, it was very specific, but big part of it was sleep, right? You got to prioritize your sleep because that's a way of physical body rejuvenating. So then emotional. For emotional, I realized that I need something where I can channel that emotional energy into something physical, right? So some people, when they get angry, they go for a run. When they get sad, they do sit down and do some meditation, right? So it's that kind of thing. Like, what is it that I need to do in order to channel my emotional energy and keep it moving? Because emotions come in a wave. We cannot get stuck in a wave. If we allow the emotion to move through us, we don't get stuck. If we don't allow it, then it gets stuck, right? So we don't want to be stuck. We want to be flexible, remember? So the emotional wave, the way I will pass it through is through pottery. I do pottery and it's a calming experience for me. I can channel all that emotional wave into the clay and see how the clay turns up that day. And then channeling. When I'm emotionally stuck, channeling provides me hope, it provides me comfort, it provides me clarity of the future that feels so uncertain from time to time, right? So channeling is my tool. What are your tools? Maybe you want to listen to music, maybe you want to dance. Figure out what your tools are. For mental body balance, channeling also gives me that, right? It brings clarity without the worry, it brings focus without overwhelm, and it brings inspiration without the confusion. So these are the tools that I will be using for my own bodies, for my own flexibility, to strengthen my center point, my ability to stay at that center point for longer at stretch, and then be able to stretch when in response to external event. And even if I'm knocked off from that event, come back to the center quickly and without damage, without much damage. So that's what I will be doing this year. That's why my word of the year is agile or agility, right? Because our world is changing fast and we need to figure out what is it that we need to sustain ourselves and then thrive in this world. Because bridgewalkers, we have work to do. We have social systems and structures to build together. You are not in this alone. We are all doing this together. We are basically birthing a new world at this point, and we are going through labor pains, and we know the pain of the labor is not for the pain of the heart, right? So we need you operating at your best, and hopefully this channeling has given you some clues on how to do it. And then if you want more of what is going to come for me in this month, then please join the paid subscription, $7 subscription on Patreon, or whatever the tier is. I don't remember, but there is a tier for unlimited messages. So join that, and I will see you there in further channelings. If not, I will see you in next month's free channeling. Bye.